Folly Course. The Fig Fag Folly Force. Did you see the new Star Wars trailer?
No. I tried doing my YouTube's all fucked up so on this thing.
Oh man, you gotta see it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
That's what I hear. Like right now, YouTube is like fucking with me.
Everyone's making a big deal on the internet and whatnot about like there being a black stormtrooper.
Like the guy, he's in a black outfit.
Well, it's just like no, it's an African American.
Oh, who gives a fuck?
Well, it's just no one gives a fuck, but it's just, there's a lot of talk about it because you never really see a stormtrooper. Period.
Yeah, although the actual yeah, that's true.
And you know, let's just talk straight up. In those days, even in the late '70s, they weren't given even those roles.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? To black guys, because Hollywood still today is racist. So never mind 1978 when the first Star Wars came out. You know what I mean, or '77, whatever it was. So it was just interesting now with this J.J. Abrams update. The first thing you see on the trailer is this stormtrooper with his helmet off, and I don't know. I hope that he has a prominent role. You know, I hope there's that, because there's no, within the Star Wars universe, there's no black people in pretty much except for like Mace Windu,
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson,
Lando
Calrissian.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of like Hollywood's like one token gesture. I feel like, am I wrong? Let's be real, dude.
Had to put him in.
You know?
I don't know. George Lucas maybe is a racist motherfucker.
No, I'm not saying anything like that, you know? And obviously James Earl Jones has a prominent role as Darth Vader, the voice of Darth Vader and stuff. I'm not saying anything like that.
Like I pulled up just straight up Googled it. The first picture is like a black stormtrooper. I went Star Wars 7, it's like a black stormtrooper.
And see, you know, go see. It's not. This is what people are talking about on the chat rooms. I'm not saying that I didn't.
No,
you know,
I hear
what
what
you're
you're saying. Yeah, it's out there.
I'm just aware of, because number one, I'm a Star Wars nerd.
Yeah.
And so I'm just aware of what's going on the internet with these fucks. You know, I keep up.
Try to keep up.
You know, well, also, I do a lot of nothing all day, so.
Yeah, well, that helps.
Spend some time on the internet, you know? The information superhighway.
Would you just watch a lot of Frozen all day?
A lot of what?
Frozen.
What's Frozen?
It's like a girl movie that
sister,
all the young girls.
princesses, songs.
Yeah.
My 2-year-old can like sing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Do they ever want you to sing up songs?
Like went out and got the CDs, so we would sing it in car rides
and
things like that.
Even in the car, you don't control.
Most of the time I do, but sometimes you gotta let it go.
So what do you listen to right now?
The Frozen soundtrack.
No, like for real.
Let's see.
I'm trying to get into like some new music, and I can't really. I'm getting to old new music, but I'm not getting to like new music. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what do you want to? Do you want to hear like local stuff? Do you want to hear some like radio stuff? Do you want to?
The thing is, that's the thing. You know, because I'm ripping to like old classic rock right now. Nothing's like classic rock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can get off that track right now.
Brad played me some trap music today.
Oh well, in his Pathfinder, anything sounds good,
dude. That shit is insane.
I kind of I read J.R. Tolkien books like over and over again under the same premise that it's like you might as well just like read something good. Why like pick something up that might suck and like spend a couple weeks reading it, you know, instead of like chasing tunes. You know, you just kind of divert to the classics.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think there's a lot of good stuff lately. A lot of really like unique stuff too, and people, you know, stretching genres and kind of like meeting different genres. You know, there's like, you know, the whole Avett Brothers and I always forget the other band's name. Mumford and Sons. You know, stomping on bass drums while they're beating up banjos and screaming the whole while they do it. And
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, they're fun, but that's like, you know, you go pay $35-40 and go see you know, a big show or something like
Yeah.
that. I find myself listening to a lot of like Jack White lately. Listen to Dan Auerbach, the White Keys. What's the band name?
Black Keys.
Black Keys.
Black Keys.
From
I
Akron, Ohio.
have one CD on my phone that like I have to listen to. I haven't got into it, but like everybody says they're awesome. So I think I have to like
Start from the beginning.
I need to get into them.
Just
more.
start from the beginning and you listen to them, and
like,
it's like two pieces, and then it just gets like
yeah,
built upon, and they're just like so foot stompy and like bare bones.
yeah. Everybody's
You know,
talking
blues, but he's like the, you know, one of the funkiest guys alive. The stuff that he can play and sing at the same time is like.
Yeah.
They did a hip hop record called Black Rock,
Yeah.
and they laid down tracks for a bunch, you know, everybody. Jay-Z, Mos Def, Q-Tip, and it's the Black Keys jamming
Maybe threw
on
down
some
on
shit
it.
and people rhyming on it. It's called Black Rock,
That's cool.
R-O-C. It's I definitely recommend that. That's kind of like, I could see someone, you know, because I don't know, I just have this weird thing, like, they're a two-piece band. They don't have a bass player. And that's weird to me.
Yeah.
And so for whatever it is, I had a stigma in my mind where I just couldn't get into them because I'm like, why don't these guys have a bass player? This is weird to me. It's weird, and I don't know. I never really got into them. But the Black Rock, the hip hop album, I checked that out, and then just those grooves are undeniable. Yeah, you know,
He's just grooving.
they just, yeah,
Check it out.
yeah.
Definitely.
And he's got some cool lyrics too. Really good lyrics, actually.
Good lyricist.
What's the one album? It's got, I find it hard to be a gentleman every day. Offend in Every Way is the name of the tune. It's fucking, that song sticks out on the album that I have in my
I'm so
digital collection of fucking.
I might know like, you know, 2/3 of an album by heart and still not know the name of a single song.
But,
you know what I mean? Like I'm so awful like that. I always
you know
have
what,
been.
dude?
I hear
Just recently started doing, or like getting into bios, or like, you know, trying to learn a few things here and there just so I know what people are talking about.
Well, I just totally jumbled the Black Keys and the White Stripes, to be honest with you.
Oh.
How about that? I just totally... Black Rock is the Black Keys from Akron, Ohio, right? And then the White Stripes is Jack White and his ex-wife or wife or whatever. But I was imagining them as one band, which it would actually be pretty cool if you think about it.
The separate bands.
The Black Stripes.
Black Keys.
Or the White Keys.
That's kind of what I said, right? That was the intro to the conversation. I was like, what are we talking about? The White Keys, right?
The White Keys, yeah.
Full
That's
circle.
tight.
I came full circle on that one.
Wow. I had a dream. And
We've
you
wasted
were there.
so much time.
That was worth it. Funny as shit.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that legal? I should have brought my prescription so I could like put it on the counter.
We're here in Seattle, Washington, live. Back to full circle. Is it weird if I say what the first show I got it was now?
No,
Because I think there's no rule to the conversation. We're new at this podcasting thing, but maybe this will spur some stuff. I saw him at the Elvis Room. The first band I ever saw was called Sinkhole. They were a local in the Portsmouth punk scene back in the day at the Elvis Room. I'd say 94, maybe 95. I was about 15. And you could go there and like drink coffee and smoke butts. Obviously not drink alcohol, but it was a cool punker bar in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. But that was the first show I went to, and I went there with a bunch of skateboarders and shit, and I experienced I slam danced with my friends in my living room, like in like '91 when we saw like Smells Like Teen Spirit on MTV. You know, we would like jump up and down on the couch and throw each other around, and jump around by House of Pain. That was another one that set us the fuck off big time.
Set us off.
But you know, I experienced my first show was like, so it was this band Sinkhole, and they were a pop punk band. You know, I can't really remember what they sound like, but I think like All or Descendants or something like that. You know, if I kind of had to take a guess, it was.
That's Portsmouth.
Yeah, around like '94. You know, and my friends knew who they were, seemed to be into them, and I just went along to the show kind of like as. It seemed like the skateboarder thing to do. All these. It seemed like it was. I didn't even really. I knew about the Sex Pistols and shit like that, but punk wasn't on my radar as like an active, tangible thing close to me, you know? Like, I mean, you'd hear music and skate videos and stuff, but I don't know, I guess I didn't put it all together. But I went to this show, and this place was like a coffee shop that had a stage and a pool table and shit, and they served alcohol. I'm not sure, I was a youngin', but I think they probably had certain guidelines and times where they could serve alcohol and whatever. And so they had bookshelves in like up by the stage, you know, and I'm this frail little dude, and I got fucking first, you know, real slam dancing. I got thrown into this fucking bookshelf, like my back hit the corner like that, like, you know what I mean, just fucking thrown into it. And that was the first like live show that I went to.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Great.
Welcome to the big show. And then, you know, it was pretty much on from there.
So I was thinking about earlier, you mentioned disease. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Want to get into
What do
it?
you guys want to know?
Well, let's start from the beginning. What it is.
All right. It was originally called Huntington's chorea syndrome, and then it was reclassified as Huntington's disease. It's not a very common disease. I forget the stats on the people that actually have it, but it's a neurodegenerative disorder that can begin at just about any time in your life. And, you know, for some people it kicks in physically first, for some people it kicks in mentally or psychologically. And, you know, up until the mid-90s when they discovered the gene and were able to do a blood test, there's no way prior to that to know, you know, before you're really having a hard time, like really, you know, having a hard time walking or getting around, or, you know, a lot of times the people that get it psychologically end up, you know, losing their family or estranging themselves. You know, now they're finding like handfuls of individuals with Huntington's disease like in prisons, and as they're getting older, they're in wheelchairs at 50, 60 years old. And actually one of the people I talk with on a regular basis from the HDSA, which is the Huntington's Disease Society of America, Karen Baker, she's a local support and counselor, and she's personally had to go into the place and go in with the doctor and assess the individuals, and like they literally had like brothers, both had it, that have been locked up for years for being impossible. You know, and it's
because of the disease.
You know, and it's just starting to become, you know, more in light to us that, like, you know, the average homeless person probably isn't just, you know, sitting there because they like it, or because, you know, that there's, you know, underlying causes for a lot of that stuff, you know, whether it's like having Asperger's or like
mental or
Alzheimer's, dementia, or addiction.
It's more mental, I'd say, than anything. You see people on the street, it's like, but like, so how'd you What was the beginning of stages for you? How did you start to find out you had it?
Well, when we came under the understanding that it was in my family was about 3.5 years ago. This past, right around now, probably September, October. I guess it's already Christmas now, but after learning about the disease and reading about, you know, the possibility of myself having it, and meeting up with social workers in Boston and neurologists at MGH, and they have like this really intricate system where they'll like bring you in for counseling so you can learn about what might happen and like the way it's going to affect your family and all the different possibilities and the pros and cons of getting tested or not getting tested. You know, and just based on reading it, she was like, Carrie, as soon as she read about it, she was like, this is you since you were a kid, you know what I mean, like leaving high school and having all the social anxiety issues there, and, you know, being diagnosed with this ADD and not being able to sit still and having the twitches all the time. So she just like, basically was like, I knew it, we gotta find out, because we had already had 3 kids at the time. And the thing that like sent us for a loop was that if we knew before, like we could have done screening through in vitro, which we ended up having to do anyhow, and we didn't even get to utilize that. But, you know, that's why we ended up, when we got our surprise right after my diagnosis with the HD, we found out she was pregnant with Evelyn, and you know, we were shocked. We wanted 2 kids, you know. We had like 4 on the way, and I had just lost my mind because I was just like, holy crap, we can't have kids. I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
You know, because like a big part of me was like, wow, you know, beforehand I was like kind of ethically wavered on the idea that like maybe it's a sign, or maybe it's like, you know, not the right whatever, you know, maybe it's not the right time, or so be it. But, you know, 4 years later and 3 kids and an HD diagnosis, you know, 2 C-sections and twins, preemie twins with GI problems, and, you know, it's been such a busy couple of years, you know, and you can see why. You know, I got diagnosed, and then about 1.5 years, 2 years later, you know, I just sort of, everything was falling apart at the seams. It was like I was going to lose Carrie, I was going to lose the job, the house, the, you know, friends. I mean, it was like absolutely nothing was working, and I was just like at a point where I'm like talking with my therapist and my social worker, and I was just like, how do you get attention or like talk to somebody realistically about how awful and stressed and cornered you feel without like just laying down in the street? Otherwise people are just like, here, like take these and call me if you need anything, and blah blah blah. It's like
seems like there's a thin line in the system.
Yeah, but you know, you go through different waves of, you know, the depression, and then like, you know, trying to fill those holes, and, you know, like, and I've always had like OCD issues, but, you know, now with the added stress, it like picks up, and sometimes you can just kind of, you know, stay busy and try to roll with the punches, is try to stay active in a lot of the testing and a lot of the research and studies that's going on. You know, if you're diagnosed or not diagnosed, you can always like volunteer to that kind of stuff. But it really helps me personally when I think about the possibility, because all of my children share a 50% chance of inheriting the disease from me, and each of them has a 10% chance of inheriting what's called juvenile HD. And you know, if a child gets that, it's super accelerated. You know, it's usually a 5 to 6 year course from like onset of twitches and mood abnormalities to
And when is
like, you know, sometimes full paralyzed, or, you know, like
Oh, is that-
It's awful. It's
And
just like
what-
choking.
When
Asphyxiation usually, or pneumonia, because like one of the main physical problems that people eventually end up having is control of the float valve or whatever she is. When you start getting fluid in your lungs and just can't recover.
what is there a certain age when you learn what's going on with the individual child?
I mean, you can go about it and get it done. Well, I don't even know. Do they still have like the 23andMe or 20? Did they stop that?
No clue. The
Like those
23.
genome testings, 21 up or something. You probably see some interesting pictures on that one. I forget what the actual name. It was like a weird group that you could like send a sample to, and they would test it for
23andMe.
so many different things, or like, you know, different kind of identified or previously identified
Yeah, it's
DNA.
It's 23andMe.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. I still have it. So have you like would you?
But like the guys that teach you about this stuff or like talk to you about it are so smart, so good at it, that they're like, you know, even when we went in, once we found out, and like, you know, part of Carrie's devastation when we got the diagnosis was like, oh my God, we've just taken the lives away from these 3 kids. You know what I mean? Crushed.
Yeah.
And her family crushed. I mean, it was just awful. So everybody was like, you know, adjusting off the bat and, you know, trying to get over it, you know, and they're freaking out. And, you know, as we're in there talking to this guy, and he's like one of the original guys that discovered the gene, like doing like the reading of like, you know, hundreds of sheets of DNA sequences by hand and being like, oh, look, there's 39 repeats of CAG. And then through enough testing, they finally started seeing correlations between individuals' repeat sequence, which is a repeat value, which is usually for somebody positive, it'll be 39 and up. And what they're looking for is to see how many times the lines CAG repeat back to back in the entire strand. Now everybody has the Huntington gene, and the CAG mutation goes from anywhere from, you know, the teens all the way up to, or even lower, but I don't know, I'm not familiar with what that would cause or how that would affect somebody. But once you get over 36 repeats, then you can be like what's called a carrier, where you could like have it and have symptoms, but then like die of other natural causes and maybe not find out because it doesn't kick in until like you're, you know, 60, you're already getting like older, and you just chalk it up to that stuff. And then as the numbers get higher, once you get to 39, you're actually called positive. And then once you get above a value of like, I think it's somewhere like 59 or 65, you're considered to have juvenile HD, which is earlier and more extreme onset.
So does that number just go up? Is there a way to bring it down, or is
No,
it
it's
just
like built into you. Like you
Yeah.
can, when we were in there with Evelyn in the pregnancy, that's like one of the counseling things was we could have had her screened
yeah,
in utero. And it's a process. It's not terribly risky. You know, it's like something that happens. You know, that's something that it's pretty low risk. And you know, because our first 3 kids, you know, weren't given that benefactor, we were like, let's just go with it, you know, because one of the things they really stress is like, you know, don't find out that you're positive and roll with it, you know what I mean? Man up and do something about it, because you're going to end up treating them differently forever. But I mean, you can even just test and say like, I only want to know if their repeat value is over 65 or over 80 or something like that, so you can find out if, you know, what's the odds of their being however long. And it's a lot of heavy stuff to worry about.
Yeah.
But again, like with 4 kids and the 10% on each of them, you know, to us, it's like the same odds that I had before I got tested the first time. We're right back to another like 40% chance of being in the shit.
So how old are you when you got tested?
30.
30.
And your brother and sister, have they?
It's probably, I'm gonna just avoid talking about anybody else's stuff.
I'm sorry.
It's no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
They should probably think about it.
They do. You know, I'm sure, you know, and that's the at-risk category. It's such a scary place to be. You know, some people are at risk and choose to be strong and barrel through it and just not ever get tested. Like,
so it's just
Arlo Guthrie, you know, I mean, he's been at risk his whole life, and I don't believe he was ever tested. You know, Woody Guthrie passed away from it.
So
Wow.
it's just passed on through genes. That's the only way it happens.
Yep.
That's crazy. They just found out how to
And like
test
the
for it.
crazy thing that happens though is because so many families, you know, don't have the ability to get tested or the know-how. You know, there's a lot of cases where people get adopted, and then they find out they have it, and the reason they're adopted is because the parent was already, you know, having these issues and dealing with Huntington's and, you know, not able to provide a secure place or a safe place. You know, it's just really interesting. It's like I'm part of a support group online on Facebook that they take anybody really who has an interest in it or who knows somebody who's dealing with it.
You're alright. He's passed out. You alright? You alright? Chill out, man. No, chill. You passed out. Feeling better?